Hi, I'm Christy. I want to switch into a new series today and talk about obtaining services for an adult with special needs or disability. Obtaining services for an adult can be very different than obtaining services for a child. Now, this is true whether it's a brand new diagnosis or if it's a child who has now become an adult in the eyes of these service providers. So in this series, I'm going to refer mostly to obtaining services or switching services to a new adult. Most of the information will be the same, though, as for an adult who's diagnosed later in life. In the U.S., once you turn 18, you're considered an adult. Overnight. Done deal. Parents are no longer allowed to look at records without permission of the new adult. Now, for typical teens, this isn't really that big of a deal. Most of them can be easily prepared for this, and they can take over their case and their records without incident. They can grant parents permission where it's needed, and life goes on with very little interruption. If the disability is physical, it's very possible that there will be little difference between a typical teen and the disabled teen, because a physical disability does not impact mental capacity, and so the teen is still able to make informed decisions about their care. However, if your loved one has an intellectual disability, it can be a dramatically different situation. And that's where I found myself when AJ turned 18 earlier this year. Suddenly, he's considered an adult, but he doesn't have the capability to make informed decisions on his own. Now, we were blessed that his teacher has provided us with lots of resources and guides for most of what I've needed to get him transferred to these adult services. He gave me a list of places that I needed to go and who I needed to talk to, and it's been an amazing help. But when I looked at that list, it was so overwhelming. I still haven't sat down to count it out, but I'm guessing there's like 8 or 10 different organizations, and each one has its own long application and a whole process to go through that I have to figure out and contact, and it can be a big mess. And then we had to add things like getting a state ID so we can prove, his identity when you need proof of identity. And it seemed like everywhere I turned, the list went on and on and on. The overwhelm was nearly paralyzing at times. And that was when I knew where to start and who to ask my questions of. I've talked to a number of parents who have even more questions than I have and fewer answers. And so this series was born. I figured I really need to, and I want to pass on this information and help other parents and caregivers out so that they can have an easier time getting these services for their loved one. Now, I do need to warn you, this is going to be a long series. Like I said, there's a lot of information to cover here, but I will do my best to break it down into small bite-sized pieces that will make things manageable, I hope. I'm also looking at turning this into a course, hopefully early in 2019, where we go into a little bit more detail, so stay tuned for more details on that. I don't have a lot right now, but I will keep you posted. So my question is this: have you obtained services for your loved one? If so, what process did you go through? How did you know where to go and what questions to ask? If you haven't, what stopped you? I would love to know so that I can better help you, or maybe you can help me answer some of my questions. So I'd love it if you'd leave me a comment below, or you can leave me a comment over on my blog at www.havenofhopeforme.com. This originally posted in September of 2018. I would also appreciate it if you would share this with anyone that you think might find it helpful. I'd love to help more families out. If you want to make sure that you don't miss any of the pieces to this series, and you want to find out about new posts and new information as it comes out, I'd love for you to sign up for my email list. You can do that over on my website as well. I promise to only send things that I think you'll find helpful, informational, or useful. I am so grateful for the guidance that I've received, and now I'm working to pass that information along to you. And I'm glad that I can still say that life is good, and there is never a dull moment.